What's up, y'all? I am Marcus, and welcome back to From the Dark. Since last time, I've done a ton of farming, a ton of leveling up, trying to even out some stats. Still haven't messed with our VIT too much, so don't worry. We're still alright as far as the difficulty is going to be concerned, but I have brought up my intelligence and my faith a bit. We are preparing to use some special equipment pretty soon. No hints, but I'm sure some of you guys have already figured out what it is. Today we've got the battle axe, a talisman, the iron round shield. Looks really good with the knight helm and this hard leather armor that I've got kicking. We've also got the wolf ring, which is actually the ring of Artorias, the Abyss Walker. I'm also rocking a couple of miracles, particularly Homeward. Great miracle cast by advanced clerics would normally link to one's homeland, only the curse of the undead has distorted its power, redirecting casters to a bonfire. Or perhaps, for undead, this serves as home? I've been using Homeward a lot for farming, and I'm going to show you the route that I've been using to get souls, to collect a lot of souls. But I warn you guys, today's episode, pretty heavy on the feels. So if you're weak against the feels, then you might just want to skip this one because it's going to get heavy. Today's episode is the Iron Wolf. That's our build, but that's also a hint as to the happenings, the happenings that will transpire. But you can just slip through their legs there when they do those attacks. And a really cool thing about the battle axe is that when you actually hit them with it, it only takes two-handed swings, two-handed R1s to actually stagger even these giants. The battle axe has really good stagger potential. And when you get on a roll, you can knock these out pretty quick, getting 4,500 souls per loop there if you kill these three. And I just killed the three and then homeward back to the bonfire and then do it again. And yeah, I just kind of was watching Heroes of the Storm tournament and grinding it out so that we can use some really cool equipment soon. Another thing I want to note about this is I picked up a ton of items through the course of this. I mean, I picked up a ton of their equipment. I eventually just quit. The giant shield here. I also got a bunch of giant halberds. They drop their equipment. You can see the giant halberd's a much more frequent drop than the giant shield is, but I eventually just quit picking them up, and I've got a ton of them, but very heavy shield. This actually has some lore. Great shield made of bronze and marcasite, used by giant sentinels of Anor Londo. Marcasite, or white iron, is effective against non-physical damage, but as the shield is designed for the giant sentinels, its weight is unbearable. Marcasite, you say? This is a it's solid defenses, very good stability, but ridiculous strength requirement and 18 units of weight. It's absolutely insane. Marcus or no. It's too much. The giant halberd, large halberd made of old brass used by the giant sentinels of Anor Londo. Brass contains traces of lightning, but as the halberd is designed for the giant sentinels, it's just too fucking heavy. Something along those lines. You'll notice this does actually have lightning damage. It has split physical and lightning damage, but once again with a 36 strength requirement and 16 units of weight, it is huge, huge, massively huge. So today we're going to descend from Anor Londo, and we've got a few people that we need to speak with, and a couple of things to finish off down below before we proceed with the main quest through the game. So as we peer off into the sunset, you guys will join me back down in Lordran below. Alright, you might recognize this as the elevator connecting the Darkroot Basin to New Londo. I actually showed this earlier on in the playthrough. It connects those two, but it also leads through the Valley of the Drakes, which we have not done yet. We could have actually done this a lot sooner, but you know, we've been chilling out max and relaxing all cool and all killing some hollows in a wading pool. We just been taking it easy and haven't really knocked out the Valley of Drakes yet, so we're just going to go ahead. It's not a large area. These drakes actually can drop dragon scales, and so if you want to farm dragon scales offline for maxing out your dragon weapons, this is the place that you're going to be doing it. Lightning almost got me there, didn't it? The battle axe once again showing off its great stagger potential. 2 hits, two-handed R1s is enough to stagger one of these drakes. Very, very, very useful. My good old wolf ring. I equipped the Covetous Gold Serpent Ring here, just on the off chance that we could get a dragon scale drop. I don't think I got one, but they do drop it, and they're the best source of it, pretty much. So, of course, you could always, if you play online, there's additional options available to you, which we will discuss when we get there. But if you're playing offline, or if you just don't want to fool with all that, you just want to farm these guys, this is where you get them. That quick bite attack is a pain in the butt. The Iron Round Shield does fine against it. I just quit blocking. That's all that was. Once again, Battle Axe, bro. I really like the Battle Axe. It's actually a pretty damn decent weapon. And once again, I like kind of the vanilla-esque arms and armaments. Man, that poor fella off in there. Wrong place, wrong time. Any time's a wrong time when you're in that particular place. Now, up ahead here, we see a most peculiar sight. It looks to be the remains of a dragon. And we've already talked a little bit about the dragons. We've talked a bit about, when we discussed the Gaping Dragon, we talked about how it was kind of, it was apparently once an everlasting dragon, but it was corrupted by the flame, by the existence of fire, by the disparity of life and death, and it was transformed by that. We talked a little bit about the nature of the everlasting dragons and how not all dragons or drakes or whatever are everlasting dragons. Indeed, the wyverns and drakes that we fight in the game are just distant cousins at best. A Stora's straight sword. I wonder if we can grab... You actually can grab this last item without waking this guy up, but I didn't pull it off. And he begins to spew this poison. So I wonder... Like, there's lots of different ways to look at this. Like, it looks like an undead dragon. And we've mentioned it briefly before that it seems like creatures other than just humans can be affected by undeath. And it makes you wonder if it's the power of the Dark Soul or if it's kind of the natural state of the world. On the other hand, you know, it's not the natural state of the everlasting dragons, but perhaps it is their natural state after they've been corrupted, is to be in this form. It's just really fascinating, this existence of this poison-breathing undead dragon. But he's easy enough to deal with. He or she, it is easy enough to deal with if you just hang back and shoot it with your bow. Do notice, I'm going to aim here in a second, and I'm going to hit its distant wing instead of its face. Its face, I'm doing 155 when I hit. When I hit the distant wing, I did 82. There actually is damage drop-off if your arrow goes too far, and different bows have different ranges. The composite bow actually has the shortest range out of... I think it's the shortest of all of the bows, but it also shoots a bit faster, and it's very, very, very powerful if you have both strength and dex. And point of fact, the composite bow, I think, for a lot of character builds, it's just the best bow. There's another bow that we'll actually get later in this episode that works better for different characters, but yeah. And we do collect a dragon scale from that as well. Looking for my axe. Don't ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies. The kids are in the cornfield eating chocolate pies. Probably eating dung pies. Kids are in Blighttown eating dung pies. A Stora's straight sword. This is a faith-based sword. You see it's got C in strength and dex. That affects the physical scaling. It also has a C in faith, which affects the magic scaling. So the physical scales with strength and dex, magic scales with faith. Pretty nifty little item. Straight sword of an unknown knight, likely one of Astora's superiors. High quality weapon with a powerful blessing. The way that's written would make you think that Astora is a person and that this was the sword of someone who was above him, ranked higher than him. But I think it's just a clunky translation. I think that's actually intended to say that one of the elite knights from Astora. And indeed, here on the Dragon Crest shield, we see that not only does it have, it's very good against fire, but shield of a nameless knight, likely a high-ranked knight of Astora. One of the enchanted blue shields. The Dragon Crest shield is something. I was way too fast with that. Looks pretty cool, but pretty sure that was a little bit of a mistranslation or kind of a clunky translation on Astora's sword. One thing to note, when I conclude this series, I actually have my Japanese mother-in-law sent me the Japanese version of the game from, guess where, Japan. So I'm actually doing a separate third playthrough, and I'm taking notes off the little points that we're not sure, like maybe seems like a little bit unclear translation or maybe translation errors. I'm taking some notes, and then at the end of From the Dark, we will dedicate just a special episode to talking about the original Japanese so that we can look at those things. Here, going in the back entrance to Blighttown, I'll skip down because we're actually going to go talk to Miss Quaylana again. I know you guys missed Miss Quaylana. I did. What's up, baby?
Ah, it has been some time, truth be told. I thought you had perished. I have a favor to ask. My mother, the Witch of Izalith, was one of the primeval lords. Her power came from the soul that she found near the first flame. She focused this power to light a flame of her own. But she failed to control it. The flame of chaos engulfed Mother and my sisters and molded them into deformed creatures. Only I escaped. And now I am here. But my mother and sisters have been in anguish since. I beseech you, free Mother and my sisters from the flame of chaos. I cannot do it myself. I lack the strength and the bravery. But you, I realize what I am asking. But please, free their poor souls. Mother's ambitions were misguided, no doubt. But surely 1,000 years of atonement is enough. I have a faith, but I can't. But Mother's ambitions were misguided, no doubt. But surely 1,000 years of atonement is enough.
Tons of information in that. Those dialogues right there. And we'll talk about that after I upgrade my pyromancy flame here. But one thing I do want to call attention to: Quaylana herself is over 1,000 years old. This is... Anyway, I'm gonna upgrade my pyromancy flame up to plus 15 here, and then we will actually be able to ascend it and get a more powerful version of the pyromancy flame. It's still called pyromancy flame, but I want you to pay attention to the icon as I actually ascend this from 15 to pyromancy flame, and you'll notice the change. Boom, that flame got bigger.
Now go. Whatever you do, do not crack and go hollow, lest my time spent on you be wasted.
This pyromancy flame, much more powerful than the one we had before, even despite the fact that it shares the same name. Pyromancy flame drawing upon the latent power of Quaylana of Izalith, mother of pyromancy. For the pyromancer, a flame is a precious thing indeed, to be nurtured, often for an entire lifetime. When the flame is shared, it creates an eternal bond between the parties. Nurtured for an entire lifetime, and Quaylana here is at least 1,000. Well, she's over 1,000 years old. She's been around since the days of Lord Gwyn. So she shared a very powerful flame, and we are linked with her. And it makes me think that perhaps the reason she is teaching pyromancy to humans, the reason she's willing to share it with Salomon, the reason she's willing to share it with us, is because she's looking for someone brave enough and strong enough to free her mother and her sisters. She wants a liberator of Izalith, someone to be their savior. She tells us that the Witch of Izalith is one of the primeval lords. We already knew that her power came from a soul she found near the first flame. She focused this power to light a flame of her own. She wanted to recreate the first flame. Now, did she do this once the Age of Fire was beginning to fade? Is this something that Gwyn knew about? What was their relationship? It's not clear from this. But the flame of chaos engulfed Mother and my sisters and molded them into deformed creatures. So the power of her soul that she found near the flame, she tried to turn that power into a new flame. And she did succeed in creating a new flame, but it was a very chaotic one that she could not control. Also, curious that Quaylana says only she escaped when that does not seem to be true. There's arguments to be made for it. We'll see kind of a conclusion to that little line of dialogue once we're deeper into Lost Izalith itself. But yeah. And finally, there is some key timeline information in there. Mother's ambitions were misguided, no doubt, but surely 1,000 years of atonement is enough. Remember that 1,000 years number. Just hold on to that in your head, and we'll see that again pretty soon. This is key to the timeline. Long time no see, sweetheart.
I am Dusk of Ulyssil. It is an honor to see thee again. I shall follow thy wishes.
Alright, we bought her stuff.
My home of Ulyssil was reduced to ashes long ago in my time. I have been alone ever since, but to be summoned thus, and to be of service to thee, it is most rewarding. Oh, forgive me. Such a long past time is none of thine concern. My home of Ulyssil was reduced to ashes long ago in my time. I have been alone ever since, but to be summoned thus, and to be of service to thee, it is most rewarding. Oh, forgive me. Such a long past time is none of thine concern. If thou art in need, pray summon me again. I wish to be of assistance. May the flames guide thee.
There's a couple of different ways to interpret one of those lines there. My home of Ulyssil was reduced to ashes long ago in my time. Long ago in my time, it could either mean that for her, in her timeline, it was destroyed long ago. So Ulyssil has been destroyed a long time for her personally, or it could just mean that it was destroyed a long time ago. Based on the context of the conversation, I really feel like that line means that she has been alone for a long time. Her land, in her own timeline, was destroyed long before the current point. Also interesting that she's not really alone, but we'll see that in the DLC. This is yet another female corpse, likely representing Dusk of Ulyssil herself. And I say that because this corpse becomes available only after you've actually summoned Dusk. So, yeah. A very lonely, watery grave here for Dusk of Ulyssil. Special magic crown bestowed upon Dusk, Princess of Ulyssil, upon her birth. Its wearer is blessed by all manners of magic. This raises the power and effect of the wearer's magic, but damage suffered by magic attack also rises. Very key if you want to do a mage build. This is going to up your magic damage considerably, but of course you have to be careful not to get hit yourself. The antiquated dress, a dress from the ancient fallen land of Elysial. Its ivory-colored silk features elaborate embroidery and is imbued with ancient magic power. One cannot expect any physical protection from this garment, as it was not meant to be worn in battle. Having said that, if I recall correctly, in the original version of the game, it was extremely powerful. It was overpowered as shit. It still has really good curse resistance, but the overall defenses of this set were insane, if I remember right, and it has been nerfed. So that was, I don't know if it was a mistake or what, but once upon a time, I don't know if it was intended to be ironic or what. I don't know. And I love the fact that Dusk mentions summoning so casually. To her, it's not a big deal. So the art of summoning, at the very least, has been around since Elysial. Fascinating. We're getting all kind of dialogues today. Let's talk to our mage bros.
Oh, hello. I appreciate the attention, but that will...
But I wanted to give you attention.
Have you spoken to Master Logan?
We've bought all his stuff as well.
Goodbye then. Do stay safe.
Hello there. Glad to see you alive. Oh. It seems you've come quite a way. Excellent. You're certainly ready. I shall teach you sorceries. No results, eh? Well, the way of sorceries is a long, hard road. Take it slowly. Hello there. You really are very diligent. I quite understand. Study is invigorating.
No talk menu. We can look through his spells here. Sorcery, which improves upon Soul Arrow. Let's see. Difficult to use. Great Heavy Soul Arrow. Adored by certain sorcerers. Homing Soul Mass. Life originates in the soul. No wonder the Soul Mass draws toward it. This sorcery is a window into Seeker Logan's methods. Souls that draw other souls. Souls that are drawn towards life. That's a window into his methods. A symbol of Logan's strength, the Soul Spear is referenced repeatedly in the legends and is said to be on par with Lord Gwyn's lightning. Repeatedly in the legends? How far back exactly does Logan go? It's really interesting.
I will stay here for the time being. Speak to me again to further your knowledge.
A window into his methods. His methods are using masses of souls that are drawn towards life. Moment of silence for the departed. We still carry our half of that eternal bond via his flame.
I am pleased to see you well. Is it something urgent? Those who seek the realm of lords must brave Sen's fortress. Many have gone before you. Fate has chosen you.
Frampt has nothing new to say to us, despite the fact that we have braved Sen's funhouse already. I'm just gonna cut this out. I know you guys hate that sound.
Farewell, chosen undead. I remain here and await thee.
Alright. That's gonna wrap up the dialogues that we needed to get, and we'll just use Homeward to bounce it back to the forest. Something that was pointed out by a lot of viewers. Oh, a couple things that were pointed out by a lot of viewers. First of all, this is a good time for us to go deal with the rest of the forest hunters before we request absolution from, what's his name? Oswald? The second thing, a correction from last time, I mentioned Tarkus being a Berserk reference. That's actually not, my memory just fucked up on me. It's actually a reference to JoJo, so my bad. A lot of people pointed that out to me. And there are a number of JoJo references in Dark Souls, including Kirk, and we'll talk about that once we see Kirk again. But yeah, just a brain fart, that's all it was. It's tough keeping everything straight sometimes, guys. Commentary is hard. Speaking hard. Now these forest hunters, they're all aggro on us again, but most of them don't mean anything, but there are actually a couple of special ones that have some special equipment for us as well. Well, specifically one, and so we need to take care of that today. This is another character too that causes a lot of confusion for people. There's lots of debate over the name and nature of Ferris, the black bow archer, but we'll see her in just a minute, in really in just a minute or two. First we have to deal with these guys though. I started to cut this section out, but we were a little bit light on combat today, so I figured just keep it around. Plus, I noticed for the first time ever that this thief here does not wear the normal thief set. No. You guys know. That's the hollow thief set right there, baby. That's style. That is fucking style, Mr. Forest Hunter. So I say, batter up. Sick style, dude. He did have a bandit knife and it looked like a target shield, but that thief was actually wearing the hollow thief set, something I just never noticed before because of his fog ring effect. Then again, you know me, I never even noticed that this was a female cleric. I was calling this a guy the other day, I guess. People were all like, hey man, it's a woman, that cleric is a woman. All the same to me, all the same to Mr. Ironwolf here. He's an equal opportunity axe murderer. I mean, it's not really murder. I mean, she attacked me first. Granted, I killed one of her kinsmen, but they had attacked me first before that. Granted, I did trespass on their territory, but this ain't exactly their place either. Well, it kind of is if you want to... Alvina. I don't know. I don't know what's right or wrong anymore in this crazy mixed up world of Lordran. Sorry. Got a little carried away there. Alright, a little bit of strategy here. I am approaching from this direction because there is an archer over here, and I don't want her to approach the cliff that's to my left right now. So I want to approach from behind her so that if she... when she decides to move away from me, she doesn't move towards the cliff and fall off. Instead, she's going to move deeper into the forest. That's my stupid plan anyway. NPCs love to attack after rolling. They just do. Here we're using the Iron Round Shield's heavy deflection effect. To good effect. We get this knight to rebound off of it, and then we can just get a hit with our battle axe. And now we're left with this archer. Now, a lot of people think this archer is Ferris. I really don't think so. But there's a considerable amount of confusion about it because the hat of Ferris in the English version says that Ferris is he. And this is very much a female character that is rolling the fuck away from me right here. Come on. Thank you. So that's obviously a woman. But we get twin humanities. Once again, a female with twin humanities. This is just a running fucking theme here at this point. I'm just running somewhere safe so that we can read the descriptions on these items. But, yeah, the items indicate that Ferris is male. So, kind of a common idea is that that's just a normal forest hunter who's looted the grave of Ferris and acquired his gear, right? Let's look at this. Black Bow of Ferris. The preferred black bow of the heroic archer Ferris. Has a longer range than standard bows, but is more difficult to use. Without proper abilities, results will be underwhelming. This is a very dex-heavy bow, great dex scaling, requires high dex to start with, has a very large shot range. Fires a little bit slower than the composite bow, if I recall correctly, but we also got Ferris's hat. Right here. Broad-brimmed hat favored by the archer hero Ferris. Ferris was an accomplished archer, and though he was human, he ranked alongside Hawkeye Goff, one of the 4 knights of Lord Gwyn. His hat is universally popular among children. Very clearly says he. Now, like I said, at the end of this entire playthrough, I'm going to do an episode where I just show off some of the Japanese to clear up some translation issues, but if I recall correctly, and I haven't seen it in a while, but if I recall correctly, the Japanese does not say he and doesn't indicate gender in any way, shape, form, or fashion, leaving it open for Ferris to be female. This is important because in Demon Souls as well, there was a famous archer who, due to some circumstances within the game, led players to believe that perhaps that archer was female, but the English text says he, whereas the Japanese text is once again gender neutral. So I don't know if it's just a running gag with FromSoft and the guys at what is it, Frog Nation, that does the translations. I don't know if it's a running gag or an error or what. I still don't think that female there is actually Ferris, because Ferris was a human and ranked alongside Hawkeye Go. Hawkeye Go lived centuries ago, minimum, right? Like this, we're talking about the 4 Knights of Gwyn, so from ancient times. Now it's true that Ferris could have been undead, but I just think it's much more likely that this is just a grave robber. And now here is where the fields come in. We're gonna go ahead and do this event. For those of you who haven't played Dark Souls, this is a boss that I don't want to kill. This is a boss that anybody that has a heart does not want to kill, but we gotta do it. You have to complete the game. If we waited until after the DLC to do this fight, we would get a special scene, and we will still get that scene, but we're going to do it on our next playthrough. Like I said, we have to go to New Game Plus to do a few key events, and I think it's just much more appropriate to do that event after seeing it the normal way first. So today we're going to do the Sith fight the normal way, and we're going to see the normal cutscenes, so that you guys who maybe haven't played Dark Souls will have something to compare it to. You can see Anor Londo high above this dark grave, swords all in the ground all over the place. This could be taken as a reference to Berserk, but yeah. I'm just gonna shut up for this fight. This is one of my favorite bosses in video games of all times. Not the fight itself, which is still fairly fun, but this boss, man, oh god. Once again, a moment of silence for a fallen friend. I want you guys to just comment Sif. Simply leave a comment saying Sif to pay your respects, if you would, please. This ring symbolizes Knight Artorius' covenant with the beasts of the Abyss. Its wearer, like Artorius himself, can traverse the Abyss. Soul of Sif, the Great Grey Wolf, who guards the grave of Artorius, the Abyss Walker. Special beings have special souls. Use the soul of Sif, who inherited the Divine Knight Sword, to acquire a huge amount of souls or to create a unique weapon. You guys who haven't played Dark Souls and maybe haven't done the DLC yet don't know why this is such a big deal, and I look forward to showing you when we get to the DLC. But man, this is that boss. I hate fighting this boss. Not because it's difficult. Obviously I got him on lock, but interesting point, that's another female corpse. One of the special rings granted to the 4 Knights of Gwyn, the Hornet Ring belonged to the Lord's Blade Kieran. By boosting critical attacks, its wearer can annihilate foes as Kieran's dagger laid waste to Lord Gwyn's enemies. This female corpse, perhaps representing Lord's Blade Kieran, one of the Knights of Gwyn, a compatriot of Artorius, and she's curled up here behind this monument to him, and the grave guarded by the Great Grey Wolf Sif. I think the Great Lord swords there don't have any particular significance, but guys, that wraps up From the Dark today. We bear a very heavy legacy at this point, and we will return to Anor Londo, and we're gonna see if we can't make good on that legacy.